She had 30 photographs of the same happy moment before she noticed the dog was never in the same place twice. Wilhelmina Okafor Bramble worked as a portrait photographer, spending her days composing shots and noticing exactly where every subject in a frame was positioned relative to every other. She assumed that eye for composition made her unusually observant about her own family, too. For nearly a month, it was the very thing that kept her from seeing a much simpler pattern. Their dog, Magnus, a sturdy black and tan mixed breed, had always announced himself loudly whenever he entered a room where 8-month-old Odalise was playing. A happy bark from the doorway, tail already wagging before he'd fully crossed the threshold. Sometime that month, without Wilhelmina consciously noticing, he stopped doing that entirely. Instead, Magnus began approaching Odalise only from directly in front of her, always within her line of sight first, never calling out from across the room the way he used to. Wilhelmina, reviewing her own photos one evening, noticed he was never positioned behind Odalise in a single frame anymore, not once in 30 shots. That detail would matter. She didn't clock it fully yet. Her husband, Reginald, mentioned it a few nights later almost as an aside. "Have you noticed Magnus doesn't bark to get her attention anymore? He just walks around until she can see him." Wilhelmina, a photographer's trained eye for composition working almost against her, had captured the pattern in dozens of images without registering what it actually meant. She assumed Magnus was simply maturing, becoming a calmer, gentler dog as he aged. The following week, during a routine well-baby visit, the pediatrician mentioned that Odalise hadn't quite hit an expected milestone for responding to sounds from behind her, turning her head toward a voice or a noise she couldn't see coming. Wilhelmina, sitting in the exam room, felt something shift into place all at once. She mentioned Magnus's changed behavior almost as an afterthought, describing how he'd stopped calling out from doorways and only ever approached from the front now. The pediatrician didn't dismiss it. She ordered a hearing screening that same week. The audiologist, Dr. Perpetua Vasquez-Alori, confirmed a mild but real hearing deficit in one ear, subtle enough that it hadn't shown up clearly in casual observation, but real enough to explain why Odalise never responded to sounds from certain directions. Dogs often adjust their own behavior around a hearing change in a child long before parents consciously notice it. Dr. Vasquez-Alori explained. The fact that you connected his change in habit to hers, even loosely, got her evaluated months earlier than she might have been otherwise. Wilhelmina sat with that sentence in the audiology office for a long time, scrolling back through her own photographs. Magnus's silence at doorways replaced with careful frontal approaches. Not maturity, not a calmer temperament settling in with age. He had adapted his entire way of greeting Odalise around a hearing gap her own trained eye, focused on composing pretty pictures, had captured without understanding for a month. 30 photographs, and the real story had been sitting in the negative space the whole time. If you love stories about what animals notice before we do, subscribe. Pause Before Panic posts a new one every week. Odalise started early intervention services within weeks. Magnus still approaches her from the front out of old habit, patient and steady even now. Has your dog ever changed a habit around your child in a way you didn't understand until later? Tell us in the comments below. These stories deserve to be heard. Odalise responds to sounds from every direction now, progress steady. Wilhelmina's camera roll filled with new photographs where Magnus finally appears behind her again, just as happy as before. If this story mattered to you, subscribe so you never miss the next one. Next week's story is about a dog who refused to leave a nursery for 4 nights straight.